Okay, we'll go again, Ethan.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, Ethan Coughlan, thanks a million for coming to talk to us on strike. As you know, we're going to be trying to help as many kids as we can, boys and girls, to be the best they can be. We'll be trying with the schools and the clubs to help them develop, so that they can go back and help their clubs in as much to be a benefit to their clubs as much as possible. But we really do strive for them to be the best they can be, and we'll give them every opportunity. And you and people like you, the local talent around Ennis in particular, for us, I feel is so important for the kids to see stars like Ethan Coughlan and Maurice Nugent and whoever from around Ennis, that they can see, that they can meet walking up the street, but they're playing at an elite level and they haven't had to leave Ennis to do so. You don't have to be in Limerick to play, or Dublin to play rugby at a very high level, and nor does Maurice have to go far to play representative soccer at League of Ireland level and Irish level. So Ethan, welcome and thanks a million. I really appreciate you chatting to us, because the kids will get a lot out of this. Parents will get a lot out of it. But we'll start with, I suppose things are going really well for you now. People have gotten to know you in the last 6 months. Joining Munster and joining up with the Munster senior squad. And I know from talking to Ger Casey, who we spoke to in the first one of these, I know how highly he thinks of you, and the other coaches think of you. Yeah. And your attitude and stuff has been immense. I saw the other day Marcus Horn speaking about you. Yeah. And Marcus is a man of high standards. So if you're impressing Marcus, for me, it's important that the young fellas around Ennis and the young girls around Ennis learn whatever they can from you. I mean, you can do all the interviews you want and stuff, but they probably, I don't know how many 12-year-olds will read the Clare Champion. So let's get the wisdom that you have kind of garnered over the last 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Tell me about Kilmurray Brickin and the fundamental skills there.
I suppose, I think it's probably one of the first clubs I played sport with, Kilmurray. And one of the things that stand out for me was, I don't know, it was an under 10s or 11s. I was playing with lads like 2 or 3 years older than me. I was just happy to be there. But one of the things that stand out to me was we used to have these indoor football sessions in Mullicoll, I think, and Dermot Coughlan was coaching us. And one of the things he used to always say was, in the sessions, he used to say you have to always use your weak foot when you're soloing, you have to use your weak foot when you're passing, kick passing or whatever, or shooting or whatever. And I think that has, looking back on it, when I reflect on it, it's definitely something that has stood to me now. Even when I played fucking football when I was with Bearfield, playing minor and under 16s, if you're in a situation where you can't use your right foot or you're being double marked or whatever, I was confident to use my left, or I was confident to seek a pass with my left leg. So I think looking back on it, doing those skills when I was younger, even I don't really remember it that well, but
can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
A lot of coaches wouldn't be as good as Dermot, let's be honest. Like, Dermot's very good, and obviously he knew what he wanted from the kids, but a lot of coaches I would hear from would find it very, very difficult to get kids, especially young kids, to play off their perceived weaker side, other side as I call it. Would you agree or disagree that the earlier the better?
Yeah, definitely.
They're exposed to that.
I think one of the things we say in Munster is, if you build good habits, habits then develop into just normal routine for you. So I think if you can build good habits at a young age, it'll just become natural to you, when you start maturing as an athlete or whatever. So I think definitely, if I was to send a message for young kids that want to get better at their position-specific skills, definitely start building good habits at a young age. Yeah.
So the fundamental, like I would say 7-year-olds and up, even whatever, like maybe not even younger, like
Yeah.
just encourage both feet, both hands,
Yeah.
like
Definitely. It doesn't have to be.
my point of view would be, especially in strike and stuff, when you have time, because we've smaller classes than we say a regular soccer club or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of one-on-one stuff to get in a session, but we get to focus on the other limb, and the longer we focus, the less talk they have of the weak foot or the weak hand. Like if we focus on them as a really young age, they don't have a weaker side.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if you build good habits at a young age, or if you just build good habits in general, it'll become normal to your routine, to whatever you do. And like me saying there, when we used to do those sessions in Mullock Hall, it was just those sessions we have to practice on the weaker foot. And then when you do your normal pitch session then on whatever day it is, you don't have to use your weak foot, but you might just become a bit more confident in yourself to use it.
Fear goes out of it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's fear is, I don't know, it's kind of worry as well. With young lads, like I remember me, I was always the kind of confident, ambitious individual. I still am. I always was.
Lose that anyway.
Right?
Don't lose that.
No. But no, there's always a fear element in everything you do, or a worry element. So I think definitely building good habits will kind of, it mightn't eliminate it, but it'll definitely get you a bit more confident in kind of executing different skills.
Yeah. I think like in general, if you have focus on one limb on one side, you're right-handed, you're right-footed, so you assume that you're perfect on that side. So any attempt on the other side will be poor. Do you get me? But if you figure out that you're not actually ever perfect on even your strong side, the fear is less than on your other side. Do you get me? And the younger we get that into people, the better it is for them going forward,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I just think if you want to be, person that comes to mind for me is Darren Eagle. He's like probably the most talented two-footed kicker there is of a GAA ball. Just the way he naturally strikes it off both sides, you know what I mean?
He's the closest thing to David Tuberty. In fairness to David, David has played for many, many years for Clare now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be watching much GAA.
No, I know, yeah. But Dara,
it just Dara comes to mind there. He's so naturally good at kicking it off both sides. Some people might be good at kicking it off their weaker side, but Dara is like really good at striking it off both sides. It just looks good off both sides. You know what I mean?
I remember he played in a minor semi-final, quarter-final or something, and it was his first game. He was only 15 or 16, 15.
So,
and the game was tied. We had a lead. We were pegged back, and we got kind of a lifeline to win the game. And 30 yards out, right side of the post, left footed kicker. Just a couple of our older lads, 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
Nobody was running to the ball. Dara just jogs over, like grabs the ball, 2 steps back, puts it over the bar, and just jogged away like it was the most natural thing in the world that he'd ever done.
I've no doubt that
left-footed.
I've no doubt that Dara practiced on his weaker side when he was younger.
No, sure, it's an obvious.
Do you know what I mean? He obviously he was obviously building good habits or practicing that weaker side when he was younger.
And I know I don't want to skip on too long now, but I know I've seen Tom Tierney and you and Fio Coughlan practicing both sides of your throne as well. And I know you've Craig Casey to kind of, I suppose you're not too far behind him. So I don't know if you look up to him, but I'm sure you learn from him as well. Like,
yeah, no, listen, just even the way Craig applies himself, way he applies himself, the way he trains, the way he recovers from his training, everything makes a difference. He's extremely ambitious as well, and he's he's very
How was he with you? How was he with you in when you're training?
extremely helpful. Joe, if there's ever a question, well, obviously in training, you need to kind of you're not worried about yourself, but you kind of need to focus on yourself and how you
Oh yeah,
train.
absolutely. No, but around training, around the camp and stuff.
Yeah, definitely around training. If I ever had a question, or if I ever had a point I felt helped me, I might ask him, how do you think
Great.
about this?
Yeah.
And then he might say, yeah, I find this way helps me. But again, every individual is different, and
Oh yeah.
every individual needs to kind of find how their own way helps
Yeah.
them better.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I can't. Joe, I think the most important thing, Craig, is he's just an unbelievable guy. He's just a really nice guy. He'll look out for everybody. You know,
He
if I
probably
can't,
helps you with his size as well. So he's paving the way for people to have less excuses for you as well. Like
yeah, no, I think everyone will use excuses, and at the end of the day, if you want something, there's always a way to get whatever you want. It's just, for me, it's just finding that way, and then going after it.
finding your own way. Right. This is I have a couple of questions on that. Multisport star. You have been, whatever sport you would take up, you obviously have been very talented, but you've won minor medals in football, you've won hurling medals, you've won soccer medals, you've been involved in hugely successful rugby, soccer, football, hurling. I suppose if you swam, you'd be the same. But like, tell me about how Ethan became a rugby player and not a footballer or hurler or a soccer player, because you were equally as talented, obviously. Is it the love of the sport, or was it the training, or?
I think it was just the obsession I had with it. I don't know. I was just so consumed by rugby. Even with school, I didn't want to study. Like, I wanted to watch rugby.
You were very young in school as well, weren't you?
Yeah, I suppose I was immature as well. I didn't know what I want. Well, no, I knew what I wanted, and what I wanted was rugby. But I think I didn't know the knock-on effect of what would happen if, how would I say it? Me wanting rugby so much, I didn't know that would have a knock-on effect on other things in life.
You weren't mature enough to see outside the little bubble you had, like.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just very single-minded, tunnel vision. What I want is rugby. I'm gonna get what I want. Like, do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I guarantee you, if you speak to 90% of kids at 16, they're not, like, there isn't too many people that are thinking about their leaving cert. Like, when they have the possibility, when they have the talent that you have, it's hard to settle down. Like, I do know, like, well, we'll talk about that in a second. What I want to know is multi-sport disciplines. They help each other 100%. Age of specialization is a big one for parents, and like, I have an 8-year-old this year. He's 8 this year. Plays them all. Don't know if he'd be any good or not. Whatever.
I think there's a certain point you realize that I think what you want to do, that'll figure itself out for you. Instead of me saying I wanted to be a professional rugby player, or I want to be a professional rugby player, it was me playing rugby that kind of let me think that, or let me feel that. You know what I mean? It was never like, oh geez, I don't know how I'd say it, but
you didn't say, you, like, because obviously you played with me or under me for minor back in 2018 or 18, I think. But like, your love. You were playing for Italy you were playing against Italy that same year, in rugby.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess what I was saying is, like, at 16, you won a county hurling medal championship,
Yeah.
and with all your buddies that you would have played up along with, and then you arrived up to football training, minor football training. And Alan, I was saying this to Alan O'Neill only recently again. I didn't know you at all, and you had no helmet on. So I had been at the hurling match, the final, and you arrived out onto the pitch, 16 years of age, and said that you'd like to join this session. So we were delighted. You gave a couple of turns on the ball, and the two of us went, "Yeah, we'll keep him. Good man. We didn't need to know much about football to keep him." But your attitude was, you were very polite. But the minute you got the ball in your hand, just lights started to come. Or you lit up, like,
I don't know. I suppose when I was young, I think, to be fair to myself, I was a bit immature. But
you said you were mature enough to arrive up to older lads above and 2 years older than you.
Yeah, I suppose, like, for me, the way I've always thought is, if you want something, go get it. Like, there's absolutely nothing that's going to stop you if you want it enough.
That's a great attitude.
Just, I don't know, I suppose, when I was younger, I was probably, people might say I was kind of hard to coach or whatever, or, things like that. But
I got you when you were mature, so you tell me.
Yeah, that's the thing. No, but I don't know, like, if
No, I genuinely, actually, I have it written down here. Attitude, Ethan Coughlan's attitude. It did when you came, and when I was asking people from other sports and stuff that had coached you, and yeah, genuinely, it was kind of a mixed reaction. I got like, forget about it. His attitude is all wrong. He's ego driven, and he. But what I got from everybody was, I think it was, you made people uncomfortable. I think you made some coaches uncomfortable, with your drive and with your no apologies for wanting to be the best you could be, and not accepting average, and not accepting average from the coach, let alone the players around you. And that to me is a person wanting to be the best he can be from a very young age.
Yeah, like,
as long as you back it up with your own attitude.
Even now with rugby, like, I'm just extremely willing to do whatever it takes. Like, do you know what I mean? The opportunity I have to train with the players I train with, and the coaches I have that are coaching me, I'm extremely willing to do, whatever I have to do whatever.
You respect them as well, of course.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, a year ago, like I said, in the Clare Champion, I was sitting on the couch on a Friday night watching these boys on TV. They hadn't a clue who I was. Didn't even know I existed, I would say. And now I get to, gym with them, train with them, go to meetings with them.
So you learning your basic skills from Dermot Coughlan, and your fundamental skills were very much important back from a very early age. Those skills transferable to you talking out for Munster now on a regular basis. Hopefully even more regular with the senior team after this season.
Yeah.
But you left all the sports then basically at 16, say.
Yeah.
My theory with you is that was the age thing, was just to do with, you were so young doing your leaving cert. You were now in Limerick in college. And Munster was just the next step, really, because it was right there in front of you.
I think even the club Munster, like, do you know what I mean? You'd, like, I don't want to be too critical, but I'd drop football or hurling now if I was still playing it to be where I am with Munster.
I think that's okay. That's okay
You know
to
what I
say.
mean?
No,
Like,
absolutely. God, yeah. You're doing what you love. But my point about the age of specification is that you didn't really have an age in mind. It naturally, you're saying it naturally
yeah,
happened.
it naturally occurred, like, but
Yeah.
as
Eventually,
well
you
as
had to
that,
get into a car and go, Dad, I need to go to training. And you had 2 sessions on, and it was a choice between rugby and another sport, and you chose rugby more often.
it was, I think it does come to a stage where you do have to make a decision as well. Like for some lads, that might be GA and soccer. For it might be, rugby and football or soccer and hurling or whatever. Like, but it's coming to the stage now in sport where even well, I don't know 100%, but lads mightn't want people playing. They don't want dual county players.
It's just harder to have them. Yeah.
Would that be fair to say?
Well, yeah. I mean, like what I find, my experience with the GAA is there isn't enough communication between coaches. I don't think it's impossible that it could happen. I just think that a lot of coaches really want you to play one sport because they can organize their whole session, their whole season.
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier to do when they have total control of you.
Yeah.
I
do think though there does come a stage where you will naturally have to make a decision. And I think for me, I didn't really realize it at the time, but my parents they let me make my own decision.
Mm-hmm.
And they let me do what I wanted to do. I was never forced to do well. I might have been influenced a lot to do certain things with different sports, but I was never forced to do something I didn't want to. Do you know what I mean? There might have
I don't think anyone would ever make you do something you didn't want to do, Jack.
No, but I think in fairness to them, it was never a case of you have to go and do this because of such and such a thing. It was, what do you want to do and why? And I think
that's a really good lesson for parents, isn't it?
I think so, but what I find as well is, every family is different and every family has different interests and stuff like that. Like, so one family might be an extremely Gaelic football background and they might be, no, you're not playing hurling, but that's okay as well. But I think it does have to come a certain degree where, if your child wants to play both, and I'm not a parent, so I can't relate, but I think if your child wanted to play both and he was kind of,
well, if he was leaning towards, if the child naturally leans, I think that's okay. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Like you, to be a scrum half at the level that you're playing at now, you can't really be doing 100 load more, like not at your age now. I mean, what are you now, 19 now?
19 now, yeah.
Yeah, so like the last number of years, like if you weren't doing all that work with Coughlan,
yeah,
do you know?
Yeah, no, the amount of hours I've spent with Fiach is, like, just even the work he's put into me as well, and Tom Tierney, they've like, I can't even put into words. Do you know what I mean? And I think there was a stage for me where I actually questioned, like, is rugby actually a realistic career path for me? And I remember meeting Fiach at reception. I just kind of started a PLC course. Wednesdays, and like I had Wednesdays off and I think a half day on Friday, and I wasn't in any Munster squad. I was just with the Munster 18s and stuff, and I just played in Italy. And he just said, "Come on, we'll get a passing session in here and there." And then that eventually developed into two to three passing sessions a week, passing eventually like 1,000 balls off each side. Then, and it's just, well, like, eventually I eventually just got consumed by everything. And
well, in fairness to Fiach, like Fiach is an AIL winner. I mean, he's a Munster and Connacht player, former scrum half, and to have him, Fick's a great guy. I mean, his genuine interest is improving as many players as he can.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be very good. I'd have huge respect for him. But we're very good friends. Like, but he took you under his wing, and I remember speaking to him. I texted him one time actually after you were above training on your own as well, and I said I was so proud. I was delighted because, as I said, you probably had people had kind of taken you up the wrong way as you were coming up as a kid and stuff, and to see you outside there in Leeds Road on your own during the lockdown, like throwing ball after ball, and then Tom Tierney coming up. People don't realise the work that you have to do on your own. Like, it's not enough to turn up for the training sessions.
And that's kind of my point earlier when I say there's always a way. Some kids, they might make a squad or something, and they might say, like, I'm going to all the trainings, like, and I'm going to all the matches, but like, at the end of the day, that's just not really kind of good enough, or it mightn't be good enough. Some kids might have to do the extras, and some kids might be just naturally good enough to make certain squads and might have the ability to do things others can't. But
do you think, genuinely now, where you are now, do you think with all the talent around you,
no,
would you agree that, I would imagine everybody, I don't know them all obviously, but I know Craig, that even though no matter how talented they were, they did it more than anyone else extra?
Oh, absolutely.
They didn't just go, even though they were talented. Craig went through the school system, the whole lot. He didn't get there because
and I think
he turned up for training.
I think one quote I saw when I was 17 was Mark Butler was doing a presentation during a meeting when we were playing Munster 18s, and the quote was, "The things you do when nobody's watching become the most important things when everybody's watching." And I've remembered that.
It's
3 years on.
Huge. The minute you start to realise that nobody owes you anything. Like, let's go back to when you were. You mentioned there that you were very young when you did your Leaving Cert.
Yeah.
And you struggled to focus on, we'll say, the importance of the Leaving Cert and what it might do to your future and stuff. You weren't ready. You did your Leaving Cert at 16, right? I
literally just turned 17, yeah.
Yeah, like, no idea. Bar rugby, no idea what you wanted to do. Like, it's easy to train, and it's not easy to do extra training. I realise that, but when you were training for a county final, or you're training for something because you want to be a footballer or you want to be a rugby player, when you're training for a Leaving Cert, and all you see it is as a Leaving Cert, it's very hard to get that focus. Would you agree that if you did your Leaving Cert a year later, with the man you have started to become, you probably might have your focus might have been a bit better?
I had no kind of self-motivation to study when I was doing my Leaving Cert, and I think no matter what teachers could do or what mom and dad could do to influence me to study, like, I was just extremely just focused on wanting to play rugby or even play sport. Like, I just had no kind of discipline to study or to sacrifice a few hours here and there to study. Instead I was just watching rugby or watching sport, or
Well, when you say you had no discipline, you had no discipline for study only, though. You had huge discipline for your sport. Like.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I had no discipline to kind of study or anything like that. And I think as well, one bit of advice I got from my auntie was, Leaving Cert's not the be all and end all. I kind of took that for granted, but
it's not quite what you meant. But
yeah. But like, it isn't though either. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, my point earlier, there's always a way. If you do a bad Leaving Cert, there's always a way. Like, it might be longer and it might take more effort than what others have to do to get there, but there is a way. Like,
if you really want it, if you want to be the best you can be, you'll find a way. That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. There's no excuses.
So, but also, like, back when you were doing your Leaving Cert, did you Was your debut for Munster and Ireland for the same time as your leaving cert, or was it just after?
I played with Ireland just before my mocks. Not just before it, like a
Yeah,
few weeks before it. Yeah.
like like Tony Butler and yourself have obviously come up through the ranks together. And obviously Tony is super talented as well. And we'll chat to Tony again. We were going to do this chat together, obviously, but your paths have kind of diverged now.
Yeah, and that'll happen. That happens naturally as well. Like, Tony is doing his leaving cert as well.
But yeah, just before that, now that's my point. Tony didn't have to worry about his leaving cert. He went on that trip. He was on the Munster squad with you as well. I know he didn't play that Ireland game, but he wasn't. He didn't have the distraction of his leaving cert as well in the same year.
Yeah, but what do you mean?
Like, it's hard for you to get, like, to play for your country is the pinnacle of whatever level you're at in any sport. Trying to come down from that high to do your mocks.
Yeah, it would be.
So you can't be hard on yourself there.
Yeah, it would be tough, but like, again, I'm also saying there's no excuses. Like, and there isn't. Like, I should have put more effort into my studies and stuff, but as well at the time I didn't have, the self-motivation to study, to study. But I think if you want to play for Ireland and if you want to get 625 in your leaving, it is possible. Like, it is, but
yeah.
I didn't want it, and again,
you probably just weren't mature enough as well.
Do it. Sorry,
you just weren't mature enough either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Explain to me how Tony and yourself because he's still in his leaving cert, he can't play. He's not eligible to play for certain club teams, isn't that it?
So yeah, there is that. It's not necessarily an age grade thing, but it's kind of, once you're in school, you're automatically eliminated from playing with different squads and stuff. So he's in the national talent squad program with me, but he's kind of eliminated straight away from playing Ireland 20s and being with the Munster seniors, but he could still play with Ireland 19s and Ireland 18s and Munster 19s and 18s.
After his leaving cert, is it?
After his leaving cert, he'll be eligible for everything, more or less.
Okay.
But now
so
there's
kind of on pause now at the minute, really. Is he?
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's tough on him then as well,
Yeah, there is a clarity kind of thing, like when will I be back? When will I be back? What is going to happen when I come back? And that's obviously difficult to kind of keep going as well, but
I see your paths coming together again soon.
Yeah, hopefully,
yeah. It'd be some achievement to get for Ennis Rugby Club to have a 9 and a 10 on the Munster senior squad, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be a really good achievement. And like, as well, you can't forget about Connor.
Oh yeah, sorry, I don't know Connor, but we'll get to talk to Connor hopefully.
Yeah, but Connor as well, like he's found his way to.
What's he doing now?
Connor is in the national talent squad program as well.
Yeah, he's there.
He's studying in UL, but as well, like it might be difficult for us to drive from Ennis into UL or Ennis into Garryowen, but he's coming from Kildysert, and he had to do his leaving cert as well, like us, while he was playing with these squads.
Nice guy.
Yeah.
Nice guy as well. Ethan Coughlan, the professional rugby player. What's the targets now? Do you set yourself targets every year, or
I kind of set short and long-term goals?
Okay.
I'm extremely ambitious. I think one thing as well is when you set long-term goals, set goals that are like actually unrealistic to achieve. So instead of just writing down, oh, I want to be in the Munster squad by 2023, write down, I want to be starting regularly for the Munster team in 2023. Do you know what I mean? And then hopefully your kind of the course to achieving your goal will be a lot faster than just saying, oh, I'll be in the squad in 2023. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, yeah, you're trying to pinpoint it. You're trying to make it as accurate
you're just trying to make it a faster kind of.
You're trying to make it as narrow focus as you can.
Yeah.
So that you have clear and realistic targets for short and long term.
Yeah.
Are you happy with the way it's gone so far?
Yeah, I am. I think as well, though, you can't be satisfied with things.
Mm-hmm.
You can be happy and you can kind of respect where you are, and I do respect where I am, and I'm not taking it for granted. But as well, you have to be looking at, I'm here now, like, what's next? I can't just be thinking, I'm here now, I want to be here in 6 months. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be surviving where I am. I want to be living where I am.
There's often a fear that you think you've made it at certain levels, and the better player never feels that they've made it.
No, definitely not. I think no. I don't even feel that way.
Yeah, no. It's like the same fella has excuses for A, B, and C. Like, but the real athlete, the real guy that is going to be the best he could be, that the guy that can sit back when he's 40 and say, geez, I gave that every single thing I could.
Yeah.
He pointed in before he pointed out, which is my big one. But they never feel like they've met it. I mean, like, even if you compare Conor Murray, if you speak about Conor Murray and Craig, like Conor, British and Irish line, Irish international legend, made the team of the decade and stuff. But he's continuously looking over his shoulder, whether it's Craig or whether it's you or whether it's whoever. But he's fully aware that he has to work every day.
Yeah, competition is extremely important in any environment, really. Mm-hmm. Even if you're working in an office job or whatever, and you might be going for a manager role or whatever it is, and there's someone also going for it in the same department or whatever it is, that's going to drive you that extra 4 or 5%, and then it naturally would. And I'm not going to speak for Conor Murray or Craig or anyone like that, but I think you definitely do need to have that person kind of working. Yeah, exactly. You definitely need that, Joe.
Of course you do. I would say from having worked with you with the Bearfield Miners and stuff, I would say that what you bring to the team is your drive to be better, your insistence on no apology to get what you want. And from talking to you there, you're the very same in rugby. And I remember when you did come into that squad, and I mean, yourself and Tony came in together, and like, obviously you brought that professional attitude. You brought that drive. Whatever about the ability, the drive to be better is what will drive you on more even.
Yeah.
And that's the drive to be better has to be matched by the never satisfied with what you have. I would often feel with especially young players, if they win, if they're successful young, that they get this attitude that maybe they know it all, or that sure, I'm winning, like, what do I need to learn and stuff. But I know from talking to you and Maurice Nugent and Craig, and like, it's great for ye to be the stars, to be the heroes, and to be able to say to people, you never know it all. You never have stopped learning.
I think succeeding at a young age isn't the issue. I think it's just maybe taking it for granted a small bit, and that, like you said there, like, oh, I am winning, what else do I need to do? I think other people might have the attitude that I am winning, how can I win more impressively, or what can I add more to win kind of more comfortably or whatever. And I think that might be the issue.
Okay.
That might be.
Yeah, because players tend to level out. Like, I mean, if there's players that are good at 12, better at 14, unbelievable at 16, and they level out, then come into 18, 19, because a lot of the very talented players would have natural talent. And the fear with coaches is that they probably don't work as hard as the people that probably don't have that natural talent.
Yeah.
And the grand natural scale of things in teams is that those natural talented players get more game time. But what you find is, and I've spoken about this several times, you have players that probably weren't as naturally talented, but worked 15 times as hard and were actually more beneficial to when they came to adult level than the naturally talented lads. Do you know?
Yeah. That probably is right.
Talent without work is just is pointless. Like.
Yeah. Like, one of the things I was told is, your talent will get you so far, but there will come a stage where it just won't be good enough. And that is true. Like, it will only get you so far. And for some people, that talent might only get you to a county minor team or whatever, and others it might get them into county 20s team or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, someone is working harder than you. Someone will be working harder than you. And again, I think, Joe, if you're working harder than someone consistently, I think you might get an extra bit of luck out of that as well. I think
the harder you work, the luckier you are.
Like, not necessarily exactly that, but
yeah, I know, man. I
always kind of said to myself, Joe, I'm putting in an extra 6 hours or 5 or 6 hours on top of whatever training I'm doing. Joe, like, that has to stand to me some sort of way. Whatever way it stands to me, it will stand to me.
And can I ask you a question on that now?
Yeah.
Rest.
Yeah.
How important?
It's just,
when you say you're doing your
5 or 6 words, how, like, for me, what I find is, training every day is, like, it's extremely tough on the body and draining. But I find if I'm not eating good food, I don't get a good sleep. And if I don't get a good sleep, I won't perform. So, yeah, you have to recover. Joe, you might be sore in some areas, which, means you have to stretch or whatever, or do some mobility or whatever it is. And then other times you might be wrecked tired and then you need to get an extra nap in. But I think what I find with myself is, and others are going to be different, and others will find different things to suit themselves in a more positive way. But I find if I'm not eating good, I don't sleep good, and when I don't sleep good, I don't perform.
That's a big thing now for young adults, young players.
Yeah, and even up until, I'd say, a year ago, I took that for granted. Like, you'll hear people say, John, make sure you get a good night's sleep now for whatever you have tomorrow, a test or a match or whatever it is. But, sometimes if I don't eat that great, I mightn't get that good sleep. And you'll take that for granted when you're younger. And I did take it for granted. Mom or dad might say, go to bed early tonight for whatever reason. And I might just say, yeah, I'll be grand or whatever. And I'll stay up an extra hour and just play a bit of Xbox or whatever it is. And I'll take that for granted. And whatever I have the next day, I might do okay. But no, I can't reiterate enough how important kind of sleep and nutrition is.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to then we mentioned earlier about the dual player in GAA.
Yeah.
Because especially if you're 16 or 17, you're trying to impress your coaches, you don't want to miss a session. So you don't want to miss that session for the hurlers or the footballers or whatever couple of sports you're doing. But in actual fact, it's a cumulative effect of a negative effect because you're missing out on a lot of rest that you need for your body to.
Yeah, like eventually your body just kind of it won't be able to cope to the level you want to perform to.
Yeah, and that's when muscle injuries and stuff come as well.
It's not your fault. Like, you can't control that. It's just your body will just eventually not give in, but it'll just.
Well, it'll weaken in the weakest area. So you'll pull a hamstring or a groin, and you've done everything. You've done all the stretches, and you've done all the mobility work, and you've done everything, and you can't understand it. It gets very frustrating, and you've given everything. But you can't stress enough that rest is. It was so much ignored for for so many years, but it's so much part of your recovery to be the best. It's too important now, do you know?
Yeah,
and it is important for a 17-year-old guy or a 15-year-old guy. Like 14 up to recently had Kennedy Cup, they had Forrestal Cup.
Yeah.
Do you know, they had everything.
Yeah.
But really, most of them didn't play to the best of their ability because they were trying to keep everybody happy.
Yeah. Even one bit of advice I got off Craig yesterday was I have 20s camp this weekend and I got today off because I was training yesterday. I have today off for camp tomorrow. And he just said, listen, man, whatever you do, just make sure you just focus on recovery. Don't do anything. Joe, if you've done your prep, like you'll be prepared for it. Just whatever you do tomorrow, just focus on your recovery.
That's massive, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think again, like you might see teams, it might relate to some teams or whatever, but you might be dilly-dallying at the start of the season and then that eventually catches up to you towards the end. But I think if you kind of set out what you want to do at the start of a season and set out your goals or whatever it is at the start of the season, you know, get all whatever work you need done at the start, kind of towards the middle. At the end of the season, then when you're making semi-finals and finals, you're not going to be worrying about, oh, I didn't do this or we didn't do this or we didn't focus on this enough. Yeah. So all of that will be done behind you and you don't have to worry about it. You can reflect on it.
Easy.
Yeah, you can reflect on it and say, yeah, listen, this is a big part of this week's game plan or whatever. We've done loads of this 2 months ago. It's nothing we need to worry about. We can just focus on it for.
I heard something similar years and years ago when I was playing, and to get better, I was always wanting to get better, and another older player said, what I do every night is every time I go to bed, it doesn't really matter whether I won the game or not. I would think of the things I did well and the things I could do better, and he reflected. It was his way of reflecting on what he had done, and he said the only the really restful nights he got was when he knew when he put his head down that he had given it everything. Regardless of the result, he had given everything that he was physically capable of doing, mentally, physically. Do you know?
I think as well, though, there has to be, a certain point you need to switch off and just kind of get away from things. Joe, you can't be, like, some people are obsessed with everything. I wouldn't exactly put myself in that category. Like, I am obsessed with everything to do with rugby, but I'm not thinking about it 24/7 and going to bed. Like, do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I get my analysis done and whatever, and then when I go to bed, I might watch an episode on Netflix and fall asleep.
Yeah.
I'm not kind of going to bed thinking, oh, I messed this up, and like, why did I mess this up?
Absolutely. You have your work done. It's easy when you have your work done.
Yeah, exactly. Joe, I wouldn't ever kind of go to bed.
So yeah, exactly, under pressure. Tell me, so before we leave, you're 19 years of age now. You're on the brink of one of your main goals, we'll say.
Yeah.
But if you were to go back, or if you were to come into a session for Strike, which you will, hopefully, and you talk to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old guys.
Yeah.
What would you say to them from your experiences?
I would just say that if you want something, no matter how extreme it is or what length you have to go to, you can achieve it. It might take X amount of years, months, weeks, or whatever, but if you do it, you will achieve it. And as I've said it loads of times now, like, there's always a way. You just need to find that way. And I think when I was younger, I was probably doubted I could achieve what I wanted to. I remember being in doing my leaving cert, and as I said, I was extremely single-minded about what I wanted. And I remember people used to be like, so what are you going to do in college or whatever? And I used to just go, I'm going to be a professional rugby player. And they just kind of laughed at me like, no, like, what are you going to do? But I was just so obsessed and consumed with what I wanted that I was just going to make sure I got what I wanted. And, I'm willing to do whatever I have to do to get what I want, because there is a way, and I've kind of adapted that attitude off my dad, really.
Good.
He kind of
delighted to hear that.
He used to always say, when I was younger, starting off with Munster 16s and stuff, and he was like, if you wanna make it, like, you can. There's nothing stopping you. And I think as well, I was kind of lucky enough. I wasn't that shy or kind of.
No, that's it. Yeah, you have yourself.
You
were not shy.
I always kind of had. I was always very confident and kind of. I kind of relied a lot on my ability to play sport and stuff. But as I've said,
were you aware on the effect you have on others on the pitch?
I think in rugby at a time I did. Like, I would have always spoken before rugby games with Ennis and stuff. And I think different games, you need to give off different messages, and I think I was kind of good at that. I think it did have an impact on lads, and I think now you play a lot of the way you play now. Well, the way we have to play now in a professional environment, it's very kind of system-based and stuff. But when you're playing with Ennis and stuff, you're playing extremely based off emotion. And I think that's how we were so successful. We were just a tight group, coaches, players. We shared.
Were you aware of the effects on the opponents you had?
Probably not. No. I think as well, you never really want to focus on the opponents. You might feel threatened in certain areas, but you can only
focus on yourself, maybe.
Only affect on what you want to do as a team. I think that's what we were so good with Ennis, was we were a talented group of people that shared the same common goal, and it wasn't ever a case of, we've eaten Tony and Connor, we're going to win, or it was a case of, we have a full team, we are going to win. I think we got to Munster finals and stuff like that. It's not going to be achieved with 4 or 5 lads. It's going to be achieved.
Oh, absolutely. It's not even going to be achieved with 15 lads.
No, it mightn't necessarily be achieved by 25 or 6 lads. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you
absolutely, yeah.
You definitely need 16, 17 players.
Yeah. Tell me another question. I know you're at the other side of it, and you've been working hard to become a professional player. Why are so many young players in every code dropping out? I think in your experience, I'm sure you have friends that aren't playing anymore.
There's obviously an interest element as well, and there could be past experiences that kind of just said, not for me.
Like what? Like what's turning them off sport?
Well, for me, I didn't even want to play rugby when I was kind of 13. There was some wet mornings where we had to go down to the paddock and stuff, and I was just like to Dad, I don't want to get out of bed. Like, and he was just like, get out of bed. You're going to training and stuff. And that eventually stood to me. But no, there's you can never say there's set different elements.
There's a big drop off in numbers from 16 onwards. Is it game time? Are they not getting enough games? Are they not? Are they? Does the coaching need to be better? Is it the fact that they played so much, so young that they're?
I would actually, I'm not joking now, but I would actually say it's a social thing.
Yeah.
Like everybody, going out, how can they have the best time?
Yeah, you think their social behavior
Yeah.
is more important to them than the bit of crack with the boys.
Yeah, I think 10 years ago it was, or even when you might have played, it was just like, I want to win county championships or whatever. But now it might be, how langers can we get on the weekend? Like, do you know what I mean?
There's a lot of that. There's a
lot of that kind of creeping in now. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'd love to. Everybody, all adults, would love to be able to figure out how to re-engage the teenager.
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
oh well, that's not for you. That's for us. Come here, Ethan. Listen, that's been unreal. You're a very interesting character. You're never apologize for being driven and self and focused on your career and focused on your ability and to be the best you can be. Like, you're an ambassador for Strike from day one. You were one of the players that I was mad to talk to because of that attitude. There's no such thing. There's no apologies needed to anybody for wanting to be the best you can be. If you were in a business world and you were working as a business manager for somebody, they would want you to be the best that you could physically possibly be to make their business the best that they can be. And for a person in sport, like that to me is the pinnacle. To be able to, and as well as that, like, I know that my young fella looks up to you already. He still talks about, is Ethan the guy with the big ties that came in and sat beside me in the car? He was like, I want to be him.
yeah.
Like, it's so important that we get to talk to the local talent, local international stars. Like, we've buckets of internationals in Ennis. Like, who knew? And that's what I want to get out in Strike. Yes, we have smaller classes. Yes, that we're trying to help the schools and the clubs. The kids that come to us will get, we have really good qualified coaches, and with Barry Ryan and Irene Herrer, and like Morris is very involved. Morris Nugent, I know you'll be coming in hopefully for sessions, and it's not just like you said earlier on, the fundamental skills that you learnt as a kid back in Kilmurray or Bricken stood to you when you're becoming an international footballer, a rugby player. So listen, Ethan, stay strong and stay driven. I personally really look forward to seeing where your career goes. I have one little thing, because Craig is family, like, maybe not take Craig's position so quickly, but I can't wait for the competition between you, because you're a really good guy, and maybe Mossy Lawler might be looking in Connacht for you sooner or later, or one of the two of you, whatever.
Yeah.
Listen, the very, very best of luck. We might have a chat again maybe after we chat to Tony and stuff, and hopefully in a few months' time when you're all. And best of luck. I hope the Irish 20s goes well as well.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
What's huge about you is you barely mentioned that you're an Irish international. You captained your country.
Yeah.
You didn't even mention it. Like, people that tell me that you're ego driven and stuff never even came out in the interview. Like, you're an Irish international from Ennis, and you can be a hero to everybody in the county, in the town and in the county. No questions at all. And you're definitely welcome at Strike anytime.
Thanks very much.
Thanks a million, Ethan. Chat to you soon.
You too.